Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive, the podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
Today, we're tackling something pretty fascinating and, honestly, a bit unsettling. It's this claim swirling around consciousness exploration.
Yeah, we're asking this question, what if expanding your consciousness isn't really about freedom at all? What if it's about being led into an even more sophisticated trap?
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? We've been digging into an analysis of Bob Monroe's Gateway Voyage. You know, that program promising enhanced consciousness, new states of being.
Right. And our goal today is, well, to pull apart its main ideas, look at the weak spots underneath, and try to figure out why some of these stories about spiritual freedom might actually be the most complex prisons imaginable.
Exactly. We want to give you the mental tools to question these really grand promises.
To help you see through the noise, basically, and spot those subtle ways your own search for self-discovery might get co-opted.
We're looking at how a system can look liberating, but actually build new kinds of dependency, new controls.
Okay, so let's unpack this Gateway Voyage thing. Right off the bat, they dangle this really powerful lure. They promise something. It's vague, but it sounds amazing. A new kind of freedom, escaping everyday limits. It sounds incredible, right?
It absolutely does. And it's not just a casual thing. It's presented as this profound personal liberation.
But what's really clever, I think, is how that freedom, it's left totally undefined at first.
Exactly. They don't spell out what freedom means.
Yeah.
Because you, the person listening, you fill that gap with your own stuff, your own desires for escape.
You project your hopes onto it.
Right. Which makes you incredibly open, suggestible, really, to whatever definition they decide to give you later on. It's like an emotional lever, you know, tapping into that yearning without pinning themselves down.
And to get this freedom, this exploration of consciousness, they offer these mental tools.
Yeah, and the big one they market is something called hemi-sync.
Hemi-sync. It sounds very scientific, very cutting edge, like a tech shortcut to a higher state.
And that's precisely the angle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hemi-sync is presented as this super scientific method, almost like a given fact. You just use it.
So what is it technically?
Well, what they're essentially talking about is trying to get your brain's two hemispheres synchronized using specific sounds, audio frequencies.
Okay.
Now, the actual science, the neuroscience behind hemispheric synchronization, it's really debated. It's far from being some universally accepted, guaranteed tool for changing consciousness. But here, it's presented as exactly that, a direct path to altered states. It gives this, like, scientific shine to what's basically a metaphysical claim.
It builds the framework. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The foundation. The unproven idea that holds the whole thing up.
The single dogma.
Yes. The single dogma. The belief that you are more than your physical body.
And it's not just a belief you might happen to have. It's positioned as the absolute non-negotiable requirement to even play the game.
It's the entry fee, the spiritual buy-in.
Yeah.
Because if you don't accept that fundamental premise...
And the whole structure they build just doesn't stand up for you. There's no foundation.
So why does this work so well on people? That's what I keep coming back to.
Well, it taps into something really deep, doesn't it? That almost primal human desire for transcendence, for meaning beyond just the physical body, a hope that there's more to us than biology.
Yeah.
But this only one rule thing, it's classic. It's a subtle deception. The entire system, the whole gateway architecture, rests on you accepting this single, huge, unproven metaphysical statement about reality.
You sign up for the journey by first agreeing with their map of reality.
Exactly.
And it's interesting when you contrast this with other ways of thinking about, you know, human experience.
Oh, completely. Like, take a Stoic philosopher. They wouldn't be focused on proving you're more than the body or trying to escape it.
Right. Their focus is different.
Totally. It's about mastering your reason, your thinking within the body, within the world as it actually is. The goal is virtuous action right here, living in sync with nature and logic.
So this idea of being separate from the body.
From a Stoic view, it's kind of a distraction. It pulls you away from the real work of living well, right here, right now. It shifts responsibility away from your current reality.
And then you think about something like Zen Buddhism.
Yeah, Zen would be deeply skeptical of that kind of metaphysical guesswork. It's all about direct, immediate experience. You know, when hungry, eat. When tired, sleep. Searching for some non-physical self. That could easily be seen as just another thought trap, an illusion, Maya, something to let go of, not something to chase after. It's about being present, not transcending the present.
And if we zoom out even further, maybe use a Foucaultian lens.
Then you see it's not some timeless truth they've discovered.
Yeah.
It's what Foucault called a power-knowledge construct.
How so?
By defining the true self as something outside the physical, outside culture, Gateway sets itself up as the exclusive place with the tools and the knowledge to access that true realm.
Ah, so they create a domain they control.
Precisely. They hold the keys.
Yeah.
It becomes a new territory for control, dressed up as liberation.
Okay, so we've got the initial bait, this vague freedom, the non-negotiable dogma about being more than the body. What happens after you've swallowed that bait? What's the next step in their system?
Well, then they introduce the problem you need saving from. They talk about enculturation, or more simply, the box.
The box.
Yeah. The idea is that your cultural beliefs, your upbringing, society, it all creates this limiting prison around your consciousness. It keeps you trapped, away from your true self.
And the tricky thing here is that it's basically a straw man argument, isn't it?
Absolutely. They set up this vague, huge enemy culture and then position Gateway as the only way out.
They tap into that feeling maybe society is limiting.
Right. They validate that feeling, but then they immediately channel that critical thought towards their program as the answer. So you're looking to escape your cultural box, but then you find out Gateway isn't actually offering freedom from having a box at all.
So what do they offer instead?
They promise windows and doors in the box.
Windows and doors. Okay.
Yeah, they tell you the goal isn't to totally tear down your beliefs, but to, modify them, to see new things within their structure. The aim isn't complete freedom from constructs. It's really about getting you assimilated into the Gateway belief system itself.
This is what you call the liberation prison.
Exactly. It's a core deception. You see it in so many ideological systems, cults, some political movements. The story is always the same. The world out there is a prison. Only inside our walls, with our rules, will you find real freedom.
So you're not learning to question all systems?
No. You're taught to be critical of the outside world, specifically so you'll embrace their system without question. You're basically trading one box you perceive for another one they've built for you.
And this one comes with a price tag and rules.
And rules. And if you look at this through, say, a Marxist lens.
How would that apply?
Well, this box idea is kind of like a spiritualized version of Marx's critique of ideology. How dominant beliefs prop up social structures. But instead of leading to a critique of, say, capitalism or class structures or actual social control mechanisms,
That'll eat somewhere else.
it leads to a consumer solution. Buy our course, buy our tapes to escape the box. It makes the critique of social control totally individual, totally apolitical. It becomes about an internal spiritual transaction, distracting from bigger systemic issues.
Which is worlds away from something like, say, Taoism.
Completely different. Taoism is about aligning with the natural flow, the Tao, and that includes culture and society. It doesn't see them as a box you need to escape from.
It's about harmony with the world.
Exactly. Finding balance within it, recognizing that being part of society is just part of being human. Gateway kind of pathologizes that. It turns the normal human condition of being social into a problem needing their specific solution.
And bringing in postmodern thought.
Well, postmodernism would agree, yeah, the box of culture is a construct, a narrative. But Gateway's answer isn't to deconstruct all prisons or help you build your own reality freely.
Instead,
it offers you a new construct, a branded one, with its own special language, its own focus levels, its own internal hierarchy of who understands what.
So maybe it's a nicer cell, better view?
Maybe. More interesting wallpaper, perhaps. But it's still a cell, designed and run by them.
Okay, so you're convinced you're in a box. Gateway has the keys to the windows and doors. What actually happens to your experience when you're inside their system?
Well, there's this element they call a contribution to this system.
Contribution. How?
Participants effectively become data points.
Yeah.
Your most personal subjective experiences, the actual stuff of your consciousness exploration.
Yeah.
It gets used to refine the tools, the hemi-sync tapes, the methods for the next wave of users.
So this is what you meant by the extraction of experience.
Exactly. Your inner journey, your insights, your altered states, they become raw material. It gets mined, processed, and essentially sold back as an improved training system.
It sounds like the Silicon Valley model.
It really does. Applied directly to human consciousness. Your most private experiences aren't just yours anymore. They become assets for the system, used to boost its value and attract more people. You sort of become a data point in the corporate mind of the Monroe Institute.
That's quite an inversion of self-discovery, isn't it? It's not just your journey, it's fueling their product development.
Precisely.
Well,
And why do you supposedly need all these tools in the first place? Well, before they offer the cure, they diagnose the disease.
right, they create the problem first.
They introduce this idea of the fear-rage pattern. They claim it's this universal human complex. Deep down, we're all supposedly crippled by fear of death and rage about dying, and they link this to the survival imprint.
The fear-rage pattern. Okay.
And this is what we call the manufactured universal complex. It's asserting this universal psychological flaw to create a problem that, wouldn't you know it, only Gateway has the tools to fix.
They tell you you're fundamentally broken.
Right. Broken by these inherent patterns, which creates dependency. They take normal human anxieties about mortality, perfectly understandable concerns, and they reframe them as a kind of disease.
A disease for which Gateway holds the cure.
Exactly. And it's crucial that this fear-rage pattern isn't really empirically verifiable.
You can't test it in a lab.
No. It's an axiom about human nature, a story you're just supposed to accept. It's a narrative they impose, not a scientific finding.
How does this compare to, say, therapy, like CBT?
Well, it's interesting. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, it also deals with illusions, cognitive distortions, negative thought loops.
Right.
But the goal of CBT is usually to help you test those thoughts against reality, to ground you back in a shared consensual reality using evidence. Gateway seems to do the opposite. It aims to sort of deconstruct consensus reality in favor of its own version of a higher reality, which arguably makes you more dependent on their specific framework for what's real, rather than giving you tools for independent critical thinking.
So we have the initial promise, the core belief you have to accept, the problem they say you have, and how they use your experience. What about the big prize, the ultimate carrot?
Ah, yes. To really hook people, there's the promise, or at least the possibility, of the out-of-body experience, the OBE.
That's the big one for many, I imagine, leaving your body consciously.
It's incredibly tantalizing, isn't it? The ultimate exploration. But, and this is key, there's a crucial catch.
Which
It's
is?
explicitly not guaranteed.
Ah, convenient.
Very. And this is what we call the bait of tangible mystery. The OBE is dangled out there to attract people seeking those profound, almost mystical experiences. But because it's not guaranteed, the system is protected if you don't have one.
So if you don't have an OBE,
It's always your fault. It's your internal barriers, your resistance, your lack of practice. It's never positioned as a flaw in the method or the system itself.
that's a classic bait and switch.
Totally. And it shifts all the responsibility onto you. It can hook you on this potentially endless quest for proof, always chasing that experience that might just never happen for you.
While continuing to pay for the next level, the next workshop.
Exactly. It keeps you engaged, keeps you paying. It's surprisingly similar in structure to things like, historically, the sale of indulgences, right? A potential outcome is promised, but your failure to achieve it is always down to your own lack of faith or effort.
And then there's one final layer of control, which is quite subtle but powerful.
Yes, the emotional control. The fun mandate.
The fun mandate.
The idea that the process, the whole Gateway experience has to be joyful. It must be fun.
And if it's not?
Well, if you're not having fun, if you're not feeling positive and joyful, guess whose fault that is?
Yours, presumably.
Bingo. It's framed as a failure of the participant. Not a failure of the process, not a sign the system isn't working for you. It's on you.
Wow. So that's the mandate of joy.
Yes, and it's a really significant vulnerability in the system's claims of freedom. It's a form of emotional coercion. It reminds me a bit of the prosperity gospel in some churches.
Where lack of wealth means lack of faith.
Exactly. Here, lack of fun means, well, you're doing it wrong. It subtly forces you to perform happiness, to suppress any doubts, any negative feelings, any critical thoughts you might be having.
Because expressing doubt would mean admitting failure.
Right, which creates this really potent kind of ideological control, because surely real freedom must include the freedom to be skeptical, right? The freedom to be bored sometimes or even unhappy without being told you're somehow deficient.
So this mandate effectively shuts down genuine self-reflection about the experience itself while you're in it.
It really does. It's a powerful tool to keep the narrative positive and keep participants committed to their specific version of liberation.
And that's our deep dive for this week into the deconstruction of the Gateway Voyage.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. What is the one idea you've held onto about spirituality or self-improvement that you're finally ready to put on the chopping block?
Let us know in the comments.
Question the narrative.
Deconstruct the dogma.
See the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical.